I was 19 years old when I became a killer. That's what they don't tell you in the recruiting posters. They show you the flag, the uniform, the adventure. They don't show you what it feels like to watch a man die because you pulled a trigger. They especially don't show you what it feels like when that man was already dead before he even took off, when he strapped himself into a plane filled with explosives and pointed it at your ship, at you, at everyone you knew. My name is Robert Chen, and I was a gunner's mate, third class aboard the USS Laffey, a destroyer that the Navy sent to hell and somehow brought back. This is about the day we shot down 12 Japanese planes before any of them could hit us. This is about the day I learned that survival and victory aren't the same thing. I grew up in San Francisco, in a neighborhood where you could smell the ocean and hear the foghorns every morning. My old man worked the docks and he figured I'd do the same. But then Pearl Harbor happened, and suddenly every kid I knew wanted to get into uniform. I was 17, lied about my age, and joined up in January of '42. They sent me to Great Lakes for basic, then to gunnery school in San Diego. I trained on the Oerlikon 20mm and the Bofors 40mm. The instructors told us we'd be the last line of defense, that if enemy planes got close enough for us to shoot at them, something had already gone very wrong. I remember thinking that sounded exciting. I was a stupid kid. By the time I got to the Pacific in the summer of '44, I wasn't stupid anymore. I'd seen enough guys come back from the Solomons with that look in their eyes, that 1,000-yard stare they talk about now. I was assigned to the Laffey in September, right after she came out of the yards. She was an Allen M. Sumner-class destroyer, brand new, all clean paint and fresh welds. I remember walking up that gangplank, thinking she looked invincible. She was 376 feet of steel and guns, with a crew of 336 men. My battle station was gun mount 43, a Bofors 40mm on the port side amidships. There were 4 of us on that gun. Me, a loader named Jimmy Delgado from Texas, a pointer named Earl Johnson from Ohio, and our gun captain, a tough son of a bitch from Brooklyn named Petty Officer Second Class Mike Romano. Romano had been at Guadalcanal at Tarawa. He'd seen things. He didn't talk much, but when he did, you listened. The first time Romano spoke to me, really spoke to me, was during a drill 3 days after I came aboard. I'd fumbled a reload, dropped a magazine. It was just practice, nobody shooting at us, but he grabbed me by my life vest and pulled me close. He smelled like coffee and Lucky Strikes. He said, "Chen, you do that when the Japs are coming and we're all dead. You hear me? When you're on this gun, you don't think, you don't feel, you just load and shoot until either they're gone or we are. You understand?" I nodded. I didn't understand. Not really. Not yet. We spent October and November running convoy escort and shore bombardment missions. I got used to the routine. Wake up at 0500, chow, drills, watch, more drills, chow, sleep, repeat. The Pacific is big, bigger than you can imagine until you're out there. Days and days of nothing but water in every direction. The tedium was worse than the fear in a way. You'd start hoping for action just to break up the monotony, and then you'd remember what action meant, and you'd feel sick for wishing for it. We saw our first Kamikaze in November, but it went after a carrier in our task group. We watched it from 2 miles away. This little silver dot getting bigger and bigger until you could see the red circles on the wings, and then there was this bloom of orange flame and black smoke when it hit the carrier's deck. Even from that distance, we felt the shockwave in our chests. After that, Romano made us drill even harder. He said the kamikazes were getting worse, that the Japs were running out of pilots who could actually fly and navigate, so they were just loading kids up with fuel and bombs and pointing them at us. He said, "A pilot who can dogfight, you can maybe outmaneuver. A pilot who just wants to die, that's different, that's harder." In December, we got orders to join Task Force 58 for the invasion of Mindoro in the Philippines. The scuttlebutt was that the Japs were throwing everything they had at us now, that they knew they were losing and they were getting desperate. I remember our skipper, Commander Frederick Julian Beckton, addressing the crew over the PA. He said, "Gentlemen, we're going into harm's way. The enemy will try to sink us. Our job is to make sure that doesn't happen. Man your stations, trust your training, and we'll all go home." His voice was calm, almost bored. I found that comforting, somehow. If the captain wasn't panicking, maybe we'd be okay. We made it through Mindoro, saw more kamikazes, shot at a few, didn't hit any. Other ships weren't so lucky. We pulled 3 guys out of the water after their destroyer took a kamikaze to the bridge. One of them died before we got him below. He was maybe 20, looked like he could have been in high school. His chest was just gone, torn open by shrapnel. I helped carry him to the fantail where they were keeping the bodies. That night I couldn't eat. Delgado told me it gets easier. I didn't believe him, I was right not to. January and February of '45 were more of the same. We bombarded Luzon, ran picket duty, chased submarines that probably weren't there. The kamikazes kept coming. We got good at spotting them, at judging their speed and angle. Romano drilled us constantly. Load, point, fire, repeat. My hands got calloused from handling the hot brass casings. My ears rang all the time from the noise. At night I dreamed about planes falling out of the sky, about explosions, about water closing over my head. I started smoking, even though I'd promised my mother I wouldn't. It helped, a little. Gave you something to do with your hands when you were just sitting there waiting for the next attack. In March we got new orders. Operation Iceberg, the invasion of Okinawa. Beckton called another meeting. He said Okinawa was going to be the biggest naval operation of the war, bigger than Normandy, bigger than anything. He said the Japs would defend it to the last man because it was practically their home territory. He said we'd be on radar picket duty, which meant we'd be the early warning system for the main fleet, sitting out there alone where the kamikazes would hit us first. He said, "I won't lie to you. This is going to be the hardest thing any of us have ever done. Some of us won't make it, but we're the United States Navy and we don't run. We hold the line." When he finished, nobody cheered. We just went back to our stations and waited. We arrived off Okinawa on April 1st, Easter Sunday. The invasion went easier than expected at first. Too easy. We all knew the Japs were waiting, building up for something big. We took our position on Radar Picket Station 1, about 50 miles north of the island. There were a couple other destroyers with us, some support craft, but we were spread out. If the kamikazes came, we'd be mostly on our own. The first few days were quiet. Tense, but quiet. We saw planes in the distance, but they didn't come close. We shot at shadows. We jumped at every radar contact. Nobody slept much. April 11th started like any other day. Cloudy, warm, a little choppy. We'd been at general quarters since dawn. My station was gun mount 43, same as always. Romano was on the intercom with the bridge. Delgado was smoking, which he wasn't supposed to do at battle stations, but nobody cared anymore. Johnson was checking the gun's traverse mechanism for the 100th time. I was just standing there, staring at the horizon, wondering when it would start. At 0932, the radar picked up a large formation coming from the north. A lot of planes, more than we'd seen before. The PA crackled and Beckton's voice came through, still calm, still almost bored. He said, "All hands, this is the captain. We have multiple bogies inbound, bearing 350, range 40 miles and closing. This is not a drill. Man your guns. Make ready. Good luck." That was it. No speeches, no heroics. Just good luck. At 0945 I saw them, little black dots on the horizon, getting bigger. A lot of them. I counted 10, then 15, then I lost count. They were coming right at us. Romano got on the intercom and said, "Steady, wait for range, don't waste ammo." The 5-inch guns on the main deck opened up first. Boom, 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 the whole ship shaking with each shot. Black puffs of flak appeared in the sky around the incoming planes. One of them exploded, just disintegrated into orange flame and black smoke and falling debris. Then another. The 40 millimeters opened up, a hammering staccato that drowned out everything else. Tracers arced into the sky, red lines connecting us to them. I could see the planes clearly now. Zeros, Vals, Judys, all of them loaded with bombs. I could see the pilots. That's what got me. I could see their faces. Romano screamed, "Mount 43, target bearing 285, range 1,000 yards, fire, fire, fire." I don't remember pulling the trigger. My hands just moved, muscle memory from 1,000 drills. The gun roared, the recoil slamming through the mount, hot brass cascading around my feet. Delgado was feeding me magazines as fast as I could empty them. Johnson was tracking the target, cranking the traverse wheel. Romano was calling out corrections. Left, left, up, steady, steady, fire. The sky was full of smoke and fire and planes. One of them, a Zero with a rising sun on its fuselage, was coming straight at us, maybe 800 yards out. I could see the bomb under its belly. I could see the pilot's helmet, his goggles. I fired. The tracers walked up toward him, red lines in the grey sky. I saw hits, sparks flying off the engine cowling, but he kept coming. 600 yards, 400. I was screaming, I think. Delgado was screaming. We all were. Then the Zero's wing came off, just sheared away in a spray of metal and fuel, and the whole plane cartwheeled into the ocean 200 yards from our stern. The explosion was enormous, a tower of white water and fire that shot up higher than our mast. There was no time to think about it. Another plane was already coming, a Val dive bomber, and I swung the gun around and fired. This one caught fire before it got close, tumbled out of the sky trailing black smoke. I heard Romano shouting, good kill, next target." The next target was a Judy coming in low and fast from starboard. All the guns on that side opened up. The noise was unbelievable, a solid wall of sound that crushed your eardrums and vibrated in your bones. The Judy flew through a curtain of tracers and flak, somehow untouched, and I thought, this is it. This one's gonna hit us. But at the last second, maybe 100 yards out, something hit its engine. Maybe it was us, maybe it was another gun, I don't know. But the engine seized and the plane nosed down and plowed into the water short of the ship, and the bomb went off underwater, and the ship heaved to port from the blast wave, and I almost fell but caught myself on the gun mount. They kept coming, one after another, like they were lined up and taking turns trying to kill us. A Zero from ahead, a Val from port, another Zero from starboard. We shot them all down. The ocean around us was full of burning wreckage, oil slicks, bodies. I stopped seeing the pilots' faces. They were just targets, just things to shoot before they killed us. Load, point, fire, load, point, fire. My shoulders ached from the recoil. My ears were bleeding. Delgado's hands were burned from handling the hot magazines. But he didn't stop. Johnson's face was grey, streaked with soot and sweat, but he kept cranking that traverse wheel. Romano's voice was hoarse from shouting, but he kept calling targets. At 10:07, a Val got through. Not us, but the destroyer to our starboard, the USS Newcomb. I saw it hit, right on the afterdeck house. The explosion tore the ship open. Fire and smoke poured out. Men were jumping overboard, their clothes on fire. We couldn't help them. We had our own problems. 2 more planes were coming at us, both Zeros, one high and one low. The high one was mine. I tracked it, led it just like Romano taught me, fired. I saw pieces fly off the wing. I saw the engine smoke. But it kept coming. I fired again, more hits. The pilot had to be dead or the controls had to be shot away, but momentum kept it moving. It was maybe 200 yards out when the 5-inch gun below me fired and the shell hit the Zero dead center and the whole plane just evaporated in a flash of white light. The shockwave knocked me down. I got up, loaded another magazine, kept firing. The low one got closer. It was skimming the waves, maybe 20 feet up, coming straight at our port bow. Every gun that could bear opened up on it. The water around it erupted in white splashes from the bullets, but it kept coming. 100 yards, 75, 50. I could see the pilot clear as day. He wasn't wearing goggles. His face was calm. He looked young, maybe younger than me. Our eyes met for just a second. Just a fraction of a second, and I saw that he knew what he was doing, that he'd chosen this, and I pulled the trigger, and the bullets hit him in the chest and the cockpit and the engine, and the Zero nosed down and hit the water 30 yards from our bow, and skipped like a stone, and slid past our port side close enough that I could have jumped onto it, and the bomb didn't go off. It just slid past us, smoking and trailing fuel, and then it was gone. By 10:30, it was over. 12 planes down. None of them hit us. We were still afloat. We were still alive. But I wasn't the same person I'd been an hour before. None of us were. We'd killed 12 men, 12 pilots who'd climbed into those planes knowing they wouldn't come back, who'd written their last letters and said their last prayers, and we'd blown them out of the sky. I kept seeing that last pilot's face, that calm look, that acceptance. I keep seeing it now, 78 years later. The Newcomb was still burning. We went alongside to help with damage control and rescue. The smell was horrible. Burning oil, burning rubber, burning flesh. We pulled 23 men out of the water. 4 of them died before we got them below. I helped carry them to the fantail. One of them grabbed my arm before he went. He said, "Thank you." Then he died. I didn't know what he was thanking me for. We stayed on picket duty for 2 more weeks. More kamikazes came. We shot down 8 more before they pulled us off station. By then, half the crew had what they started calling combat fatigue, shell shock, whatever you want to call it. I couldn't sleep. When I did sleep, I dreamed about planes falling and explosions and that pilot's face. I started flinching at loud noises. My hands shook. Romano noticed. He pulled me aside one day and said, "You did good, Chen. You kept your head. You saved this ship. You saved us." I said I killed 12 people. He said, "Yeah, you did. And I know that's hard, but they were trying to kill us. You did what you had to do." I said, "Does it get easier?" He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, "No, it doesn't. But you learn to live with it." Then he walked away. The Laffey survived the war. So did I. I made it home in December of '45. My old man met me at the dock. He hugged me and said, "Welcome home, son." I tried to tell him what happened, what I'd seen, what I'd done. He said, "I know you don't have to talk about it." But I did have to talk about it. I just didn't know how. I got a job at the docks. I got married. I had kids. I went to work and came home and tried to be normal. But I wasn't normal. I was a gunner who'd shot down 12 planes and killed 12 men and watched other men burn and drown and die screaming. I was 19 years old when that happened. So I'm 97 now. I've had a long life, a good life in a lot of ways. But I'm still 19 years old, standing on that gun mount, watching a Zero come at me with a bomb under its belly. I'm still pulling that trigger. I'm still seeing that pilot's face. People ask me if I'm proud of what I did. I don't know how to answer that. I did my job. I kept my shipmates alive. But every man I killed had a mother, maybe a wife, maybe kids. They had dreams. They had lives. And I ended those lives. They made the choice to climb into those planes. Yes, they were trying to kill us, yes. But I'm the one who pulled the trigger. I'm the one who sent them into the ocean. That's not something you get proud of. That's something you carry. I went back to Okinawa once in the 1990s, took my wife. We visited the war memorials, the Japanese ones and ours. There's a monument there with the names of all the kamikaze pilots who died. Thousands of names. Boys, most of them. I stood there reading those names, wondering if any of them were the ones I shot down, wondering if their families came here, if they stood where I was standing, if they mourned them. My wife asked me what I was thinking. I said, "I'm thinking about the war." She said, "Do you regret it?" I said, "I regret that it happened. I don't regret surviving." That's the truth, I think. That's the only truth I've got. The nightmares got better over the years, not gone, but better. I can sleep most nights now without seeing planes falling. But sometimes I still wake up at 3 in the morning, and I'm back on that gun mount, and the sky is full of kamikazes, and I'm 19 years old, and terrified, and doing what I have to do to stay alive. Sometimes I wonder what happened to Romano, to Delgado, to Johnson. We lost touch after the war. That's how it goes. You share something like that, something that intense and horrible and real, and then you go home and you never talk about it again, because how could you? How could you explain to someone who wasn't there what it was like to kill a man who was already killing himself? How could you make them understand? I'm telling this story now because I'm old, and I won't be here much longer, and somebody needs to know what happened. Not the official version, not the history books that say the USS Laffey shot down 22 enemy aircraft at Okinawa and earned the nickname, the ship that would not die. That's true, but it's not the whole truth. The whole truth is that 336 men stood on that ship and faced death and killed, and watched their friends die and somehow kept going. The whole truth is that war is not glorious. It's not an adventure. It's not something to be proud of. It's something you survive if you're lucky, and then you spend the rest of your life trying to make sense of it. I was a gunner on the USS Laffey. I shot down 12 Japanese planes before any of them could hit us. I saved my ship. I saved my shipmates. I did my job. But I also killed 12 men who were somebody's sons, somebody's brothers, somebody's friends. I carry that. I'll carry it until the day I die. And when I die, I hope those 12 pilots are waiting for me. I hope I can tell them I'm sorry. I hope they can forgive me. I hope we can all finally rest. That's what they don't tell you in the recruiting posters. They don't tell you that winning and losing are both costs you pay for the rest of your life. They don't tell you that the enemy you kill has a face, that you'll see that face forever. They don't tell you that survival is not the same as victory. But I'm telling you now. I was 19 years old when I became a killer. I'm 97 years old, and I'm still that 19-year-old kid standing on a gun mount in the Pacific, watching planes fall from the sky, wondering if I'll ever be clean again. The answer is no. You never get clean. You just learn to live with the dirt.